So if you don't know, my favorite sport is MMA. I think that's a sport now. Of course, curling is too, so we'll see what we use for the term sport. And of course, most people's favorite is actually to be the hitter. I don't know about you, I love putting on a good pair of gel gloves and just, going at it. The problem is, I'm at the point where I have, a little one. And he's at the point he's learning. So every once in a while I want to hit the bag, right? And so what do? I have a 6-year-old hold a bag while I hit it. If you haven't figured out the problem yet, you really need to work with this moment. So, he's got this bag, and I'm, light tapping. I'm not trying to kill him or anything, but I hit it. And every once in a while, I'll hit it, and he'll have, put his feet wrong or something, and he'll fall back. And he'll stumble. And then, the next time I go to hit it lightly, and he's got his feet right, he backs up. So his feet are off again, and he's going to stumble. And so it's one of those where the teacher usually wears this bag. This is the one that takes the hits. I mean, you don't hit somebody with this except, to train and bop them on the head. It's pretty good for that. But, you put it here and you just let them pound away at you because you're the teacher. And when you're the instructor, the problem is you're not getting to, have the fun of swinging and hitting. But you are taking all the hits. And there's something important we need to learn from that. There's something important that we can learn from the idea that the teacher is the one who holds the bag. But if I were to ask you, who's the greatest fighter in the world, you'd be like, okay, well, he can take a hit. He can hold that bag really straight. And y'all are going, no. I want to know that guy who can get out there. I was always a big fan of Tyson, and I know he lost and he bit a guy's ear, I know. And it was terrible, and everybody hates him now. I'm still a fan, it's okay. And you get out there and you're like, what was so great about Tyson? He could hit. You didn't even go, well, he could really hold the bag well. He could hold that bag and he could take a lot of hits. And you didn't even say, Tyson was great because he got beat up so much and just kept standing there. That wasn't what he was known for. Evander Holyfield could take a hit, though. He was probably a better fighter than Tyson was. And the reason that Evander Holyfield was so great was he may not have got the most hits, but he could take a hit. He was actually a tougher individual than Tyson. But I'm going to be honest, I want to see that person who's just pounding away at the other guy, not the one who gets hit and goes, yeah, okay, couple more hits. But in reality, one of those requires a toughness that the other doesn't. I used to have an MMA teacher who taught me this. He said, the meanest people, the most violent people in the world are the cowards. Those that are the quickest to fight are cowards. He said that when you back a coward into a corner, he fights you. He said when you back a strong individual into a corner, he takes a hit. Earlier, Sid talked about, the beating that Christ took, and Christ is our model of being a good shepherd. He's our model of being a great shepherd, and I want you to keep this image in your head today of the fact that they backed Christ into a corner. This man who is so powerful that he commands the angels. And they back him into a corner, and is Jesus a coward? No. Does Jesus get beat? Yes. But does he ever come back? No, because he was strong enough. His faith was strong enough that he didn't call 10,000 angels. His faith was great enough to trust God and to exude meekness. Today we're in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. And we're starting a series, which is kind of weird because we're going to start a series and then we're going to have Mother's Day, which are not elders. And then we're going to have Friend and Family Day, which would be an awkward day to talk about elders again. So we're going to skip 2 weeks, and then we're going to finish off this series for 3 weeks after that. But today I want you to get this idea that we're talking about a meekness that the elders exhibit, and most of us have complained about. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, starting in verse 1. Now I, Paul, myself urge you, by the meekness and gentleness of... I really thought I read it the same way. Now I, Paul, myself urge you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ. I am meek when face to face with you, but bold towards you when absent. I ask that when I am present, I need not be bold, with the confidence with which I propose to be courageous against some, who regard us as if we walked according to the flesh. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but are divinely powerful for the destruction of fortresses. We are destroying speculations, and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God. And we are taking every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. And we are ready to punish all disobedience whenever your obedience is complete. What I'm saying is most of us complained about elders being meek. I'm almost positive. Some of you complained to me about elders being meek, and it's really weird. I don't know if y'all know, I'm not even close to being an elder. Remember that whole not prone to violence? Okay. It'll work out later, guys. No, what I'm talking about is this. We want the elders to be more bold when we want them to be more bold. We want them to come down hard on this issue as long as it's not an issue that involves me. You know, don't come in after and be bold about something that I do. Guys, let's be nice to me and my problems. But the elders need to be more bold on such and such. They need to take this more serious, that more serious. This needs to be on their plate. This needs to be their agenda. They need to get this done tomorrow. I feel like, I don't know, it feels like politics, and it's a great time of year to talk about it. Because everybody knows what Saturday is. It's the caucus, by the way, in case anybody was going to vote on Saturday. But what's happening is, we do it in politics, and it's my favorite, because I always go, well, what would I be like as president, besides terrible? And I'm just like, well, what do I know about money? I don't know a whole lot. Okay. What do I know about foreign affairs? Well, nothing. But I'm sitting there going, well, he did a terrible job. That was terrible. What's wrong with them? They need to do this. They need to do that. And in the reality, I don't even know anything about those. I'm just repeating what I heard from somebody else. I'm like, I know about religion, and I know what Christianity teaches, and I'd like them to be more into that. But then they talk about all this other stuff, and honestly, I'm confused, but I know the PowerPoints to shout out. And I know the things that are popular to complain about. And our problem is, it works in politics because we're democracy. Church is not a democracy. It's never designed that way. It doesn't say in the Scripture that the elders receive the authority from the people. That's democracy again. It doesn't say that elders are appointed there because they make everybody happy. It actually says that it's God doing it. It actually says that the authority is coming from God. And I read a letter this weekend. I don't know. I'll get something really depressing and I'll read it. And it's a letter that got circulated in this church. You may have read it. And it had this terrible line in it. It said, the elders think they're in charge in matters of opinion. And I just kind of asked the question, well, who is in charge in matters of opinion? Well, I mean, we could take a vote, because that means that the majority is right. How many of y'all think that's scriptural? How many of y'all have ever heard the story of Jesus? He said there's two roads. There's the majority road and the minority road, and one of them is right. Make sure you don't switch them out. Make sure you don't say that majority is right because they're the majority. Of course, don't say the minority is right because they're the minority. But in the church, there is none of this authority coming from the bottom and rising to the top. It's all God appoints. God designs. God sets forth. But he continues with this in verse 7. And he challenges them and he says, you are looking at things as they are outwardly. If anyone is confident in himself that he is Christ, let him consider this again within himself, that just as he is Christ, so also are we. For even if I boast somewhat further about our authority which the Lord gave. Wait, sorry, I think I misread that. Our authority which the Lord gave for building you up and not for destroying you, I will not be put to shame. For I do not wish to seem as if I would terrify you by my letters. For they say his letters are weighty and strong, but his personal presence is unimpressive and his speech contemptible. Let such a person consider this, that what we are in word by letters when absent, such persons we are also in deed when present. We see that, and it says the authority comes from God for building up. And Paul does something he never should have had to do. Paul's doing something he shouldn't have to do. And I would, if you came to me and you said, is boasting good? I would say, no, it's bad. And in 99% of the time, I would say, I was right. Here's an exception. I want you to continue with this, because all it is him saying, I have this authority from God, and he's going to go beyond that for a second. Because they're looking at this outward appearance, and he has something to say about that. Verse 12, he says, for we are not bold to class or compare ourselves with some of those who commend themselves. But when they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are without understanding. But we will not boast beyond our measure, but within the measure of the Spirit, which God apportioned to us as a measure, to reach even as far as you. For we are not overextending ourselves, as if we did not reach to you, for we were the first to come, even as far as you in the gospel of Christ. Not boasting beyond our measure, that is, in other men's labors, but with the hope that as your faith grows, we will be within our sphere, enlarged even more by you, so as to preach the gospel even to the regions beyond you, and not to boast in what has been accomplished in the sphere of another. But he who boasts is to boast in the Lord. For it is not he who commends himself that is approved, but he whom the Lord commends. How have we done it? Admit, we do it to them. We expect the elders to defend their righteousness outwardly. We do. It's normal. In almost every church I've been in, that's what we expect of the elders. We want them to defend themselves on everything. Well, your opinion disagrees with my opinion, and the majority says, but too little do we consider this. When God puts authority on somebody, it's not coming from us. When God says that they should be submitted to, he doesn't say, well, you know, if you'd like to. Next week is Mother's Day. Don't forget. Call her or write a card. I don't know what you do. Don't forget. How many of you have ever heard, honor your parents as long as they agree with you? Yeah, I like that one, don't you? I know we've edited this one. This is actually how most of us actually read it now. It says, submit to your husbands as long as he doesn't say the wrong thing. Right? I mean, y'all know y'all read it that way. And when we say that, everybody goes, no, no, no. But when he talks about the younger submitting to the elders, and it doesn't use the person older, it uses presbyteros. It uses the term for those in authority. It uses the term for elders, and it says submit to them. And we would love to make it sound like what we've done with the other ones. Submit to the elders when you agree with them. Otherwise, gripe, complain, nag, whatever you can do. Make sure it's well known how you feel about them. And the thing that Paul is getting into here is saying, why do I need to boast to you? And when we consider our elders, we need to think about that. Do they need to boast to us before we follow them? Do they need to prove themselves over and over and over instead of saying they have proved themselves? They've been tested. Or do we say, today I'd like to challenge the elders on this and this and this? Because without leadership, it really works like a lot of democracy. Think about our nation right now. It's ran in a democratic republic. And you think about how things work right now. We're an extremely divided nation right now. You can sit next to your best friend from high school and then realize that he's supporting the other person. It's kind of weird saying that. The other person. And you're supporting the other person. And instantly you struck up a fight with somebody you were friends forever. That's generally how democracy works. Democracy is based on the idea that, groups until you have the majority and then the majority rules. And I'm so glad that when God said that He's going to set up a kingdom, He made it very clear He didn't set up a nation. He didn't set up a democracy. He didn't set up a democratic republic. He said, I set up a kingdom. A kingdom starts like this. We say we follow God and His Word. He is our King. Did we vote Him in? Some of y'all think we voted in Jesus? Really? It's a little different. Okay, some new ideas, stuff. No, the fact is we didn't vote for Jesus. He was appointed by God the Father to be king. He said, my kingdom is not of this earth. I have an heavenly kingdom. And we agree that there's a kingdom there, but the second we start thinking in kingdom words, we get a little uncomfortable, don't we? God appointed elders. God gave very specific qualifications for them they need to meet. And once those are met, we look at them and go, why don't they agree with me more? Why doesn't my opinion count? My vote counts. And I just did to Jesus what should have never been done to Him. Made it a democracy. Because democracy works for government. It does not work in the kingdom. When you have a king as perfect as ours, you don't go and ask for another. They did it in the Old Testament, and God said very specific, they have not rejected you, Elijah. They rejected me. Samuel, sorry. They have not rejected you, Samuel. They rejected me as their king. Today's lesson does not easily flow into an invitation. I will admit that. Part of it does. I mean, we always end with, if you'd like to submit to the eldership here. But in a kingdom, you don't want to wind up on the wrong side of the king. And though Christ came and gave us life and compassion, we know that when He comes back, He does not come back as a meek lamb. He comes back as a lion. And then there is a day of judgment where we stand before the King. And will you honestly be able to say, you were my King? That you believed that Jesus was Lord. That you repented of your sins so that He would cleanse you. That you confessed Him as Lord, as your King. That you were buried with Him, submitting to that death, so that you could be raised up to live for Him, so that you can say Jesus is Lord. Today we offer an invitation for you to accept His kingship and be on the right side of the King, so that one day you can be with Him in His kingdom. But we also only offer an invitation if you need prayers or you wish to submit to the eldership here. Yes, you come now as we stand and as we sing.